play. Start my timer here. Pull up what else I have to say. Okay. Hello, my name is Brennan Schmidt, and I chose to base my model around the financial services and export industry of Hong Kong. I chose Hong Kong because I feel I haven't educated myself enough on the more influencing countries and their economies. China's second system would be a great place to start, and I also want to get a master's degree in finance, and Professor Young just so happens to have the connections to be able to send students to a country that dominates the finance industry. So with that being said, I'm going to start with a short history lesson and then we'll get into everything. So Hong Kong started out as a population filled with fish villages and farmers, whereas today, Hong Kong is the seventh largest trading territory, and their currency, the Hong Kong dollar, kind of an underwhelming name, I would have called it the Shang or something, but the Shang is the 13th most traded currency in the world, and I came up with that by combining Hong and singles while paying homage to Shanghai. Not my best, but I spent more time on this project than that joke. So the financial services, trading and logistics, tourism, and professional services are the four key industries in the Hong Kong economy. They have been the driving force of Hong Kong's economic growth, providing impetus to growth of other sectors and creating employment. But for this model, I'm really only going to be focusing on the financial services sector, as well as the free trade in Hong Kong. And when I say free trade, I really mean the exports. Just a quick fact. The financial services make up 22.4% share of value added into the GDP of Hong Kong. Trading and logistics add about 22.5. So I'm going to talk about this slide real quick. So the industry I chose was financial services and exports. Some of the recent progress that I found is Hong Kong is one of the most rapidly growing industries. Financial services in Hong Kong is one of the most rapidly growing industries. It attracts investors and entrepreneurs from all over the world, and it's actually the world's first freest economy. They don't really hold that title anymore, but I'll get into that down the road. And some of the top financial services are HSBC, Bank of America, Bank of China, AXA, and Manulife. So moving on to the factor conditions or endowments, I'm going to start with the homegrown resources. So for my first bullet point is world-class infrastructure, specifically the skyscrapers. I had to alter the meaning just a tad, seeing as the natural endowments and the homegrown resources seemed to overlap just a little bit, and you'll see what I mean when I get over to the natural endowments and start talking about the harbors and the location. But with that being said, the first specialized resource I want to discuss in Hong Kong's abundance of capital, specifically their skyscrapers. Hong Kong has the largest number of skyscraper buildings in the world. People need places to work. Hong Kong supplies that. That's really all I wanted to touch on there. Moving on to the freest economy. Another important resource of Hong Kong is their accomplishment of becoming the freest economy in the world. And I said earlier, to be fair, Singapore has just recently become the freest economy. But Hong Kong's financial services operate under a system that is effective and transparent, and because of this, are in line with the international standards. Hong Kong's policy for trade has made this territory one of the world's great centers of trade. Hong Kong became the freest economy by restricting the sale of land leases. By keeping land at a higher price, the government of Hong Kong can then support public spending with a low tax rate on income and profit. In short, low tax rates, free trade, and limited government interference makes Hong Kong's economy thriving all through the night. Because China's stock markets are more conservative and restrictive than Hong Kong's, and because of these factors, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange is one of the largest in the world, alongside the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Hong Kong operates under a free enterprise system. The government plays a limited role in the marketplace. Under pure laissez-faire, the government would play no role. And according to the UNCTAD World Investment Report of 2023, global FDI inflows to Hong Kong amounted to around $117.7 billion US dollars in 2022 and ranked fourth globally behind the United States, who amounted to $285.1 billion. Mainland China had 189.1 billion, and Singapore had 141.2 billion. So in terms of FDI stock, Hong Kong was the world's fifth largest host with 2,090.6 billion after the United States, the Netherlands, Mainland China, and the United Kingdom. And Hong Kong is the world's fifth largest investor with $2,054.6 billion in 2022. So that's the freest economy. Some fun facts about that. So moving on to the lack of exchange controls. This one's short and sweet. Hong Kong does not impose any foreign exchange or capital movement controls. This is a good thing because it allows capital to flow easily in and out of the territory without any restrictions. Another fun fact about lack of exchange, Hong Kong and China have a one country, two systems system, which allows Hong Kong to maintain their own legal, economic, and financial systems. Moving on to the extensive labor force. Low intensive refers to a process or industry that requires a large amount of labor to produce its goods and services. On the domestic side of Hong Kong's labor force, recent public infrastructure investments and the related large imports of capital goods have raised the productive capacity of the economy. In addition, with many immigrants returning to Hong Kong, the labor supply has become more abundant after a decade of labor shortages. And finally, moving on to low taxation. This one's very short. I included this because the government has huge fiscal reserves equivalent to more than 12 months of expenditure. The interest received on these reserves is a crucial source of revenue and helps keep the tax burden light in Hong Kong. So moving on to the natural endowments, first one I want to talk about are the natural harbors. So the natural harbors, and like I said earlier, it's going to kind of overlap, and world-class infrastructure. Hong Kong's well-developed transportation and infrastructure allows the city to interconnect with the world smoothly, especially mainland China, and provides maximum flexibility. Endowed with deep water, silt-free natural harbors strategically located along a major sea route, and with mainland China providing a huge cargo base, Hong Kong has become a sea transport hub in Asia. There are 10 land boundary control points in Hong Kong, 6 of them being the Shenzhen Bay, Lok Ma Chau, Mon Kam Tu, Sha Tao Kar, Hong Kong, Zhuhai Macau Bridge, and the Heng Yen Wai are road-based land crossings, while the other 4, I'm going to butcher these names, Lo Wu, Lok Ma, Chao Spur Line, Hung Hom Intercity through train station, and Hong Kong West Kowloon High-Speed Rail Station are the rail-based infrastructure. So for the strategic location, there is a deep-water port with no frozen period. It's in the center of Asia, less than a 5-hour flight to all major Asian hubs like Tokyo, Shanghai, Beijing, Singapore, Sydney, Bangkok, Manila, Delhi, Dubai, etc. And Hong Kong is located in between London and New York, which is 8 and 12 hours time difference, respectively. The factor conditions. Let's move on to the related and supporting industries. So the first industry I want to discuss was, the first related industry I wanted to discuss was Hong Kong's trade. Exports. The top exports of Hong Kong are gold at 12.4 billion. Excuse me.
Hey, can you guys keep it down? I'm trying to record something.
Thank you. I'll edit that out later. Let's see. Let's get back to exports. The top export of Hong Kong is gold at 12. Or the top exports of Hong Kong are gold at 12.4 billion, integrated circuits at 10.6 billion, gas turbines at 7.92 billion, broadcasting equipment at 7.29 billion, and office machine parts 4.18 billion. And they export mostly to China for around 23.4 billion, as well as India, Netherlands, Switzerland, and the United States. Imports. Let's talk about some imports. The top imports of Hong Kong are once again the integrated circuits, broadcasting equipment, office machine parts, gold, jewelry, and they import mostly from China, or the Chinese Taipei, from Singapore, South Korea, and Japan. That was the trading portion. So let's move on to the professional services. The professional services and other business support services, as one of Hong Kong's four pillar industries, employ around 570,000 people and contribute around 12% of its GDP. Over the decade, about 2009 to 2019, Hong Kong's professional services industries grew cumulatively by 7%, which is higher than the 5.6% growth of the city's GDP. In today's increasingly uncertain world, Hong Kong's professional services should actively integrate into the national development blueprint, showcasing its strengths to become a regional center for professional services. Hong Kong has been one of the largest sources for bringing capital and technology into the mainland China's 40-year reform. In addition, about 70% of those total amount of foreign direct investment flowing into China from 2014 to 2019 was channeled through Hong Kong. While Hong Kong has top world-class professional service talents with extensive knowledge, experience, and international connections, the government should support the industry in entering emerging and other potential markets to tap into business opportunities, especially interconnectivity partnerships with countries along the BNR. Hong Kong's professional services can assist in the country by facilitating a hard connectivity of infrastructure and soft connectivity of rules and standards. For establishing partnerships for green development, the government's experience is issuing green bonds and can be drawn upon to strive for Hong Kong to become a green financial center. The third related industry I want to discuss is Hong Kong's logistics. This kind of goes hand in hand with trading, so I'm going to keep it short. But logistics accounted for 23.7% of the city's GDP and provided some 608,200 jobs in 2022. The logistics industry alone contributed 6.2% of Hong Kong's GDP and around 85,500 jobs in that year. Transport services made up about 39.9% of Hong Kong's service exports in 2022. That's where I'll be ending for the related. Let's move on to the supporting industries. The first one, tourism. Hong Kong's tourism industry makes a substantial contribution to the city's GDP. According to the Hong Kong Tourism Board in 2019, tourism and related industries contributed 4.5% to Hong Kong's GDP, highlighting the significant economic impact of the sector. The tourism industry is a major employer in Hong Kong. It provides jobs across various sectors such as hospitality, retail, transportation, and entertainment. It is estimated that approximately 257,100 individuals were employed in the tourism-related sector in 2019, reflecting the pivotal role of tourism in sustaining livelihoods and fostering economic resilience. The tourism industry encompasses a wide array of revenue streams, including accommodation, dining, shopping, and entertainment, all of which collectively bolster the city's economic landscape. The diverse spending patterns of tourists contribute to the vibrancy of the various sectors and drives revenue in supporting businesses across the city. The tourism industry has been a catalyst for infrastructure development in Hong Kong. The city's extensive transportation network, world-class hotels, and cutting-edge attractions are testaments to the continuous investment and development driven by the demands of the tourism sector. Infrastructure enhancements not only elevate the overall tourism experience, but also benefit the broader economy by enhancing connectivity and facilitating commerce. That was the tourism set. Let's move on to the cultural and creative industries. Really, it's just the creative industries, but there's also some culture in there as well. Creative industries in Hong Kong have immense development potential. The government of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region recognizes that creative industries are not only Hong Kong's new economic drivers, but also popular professions among young people. Creativity makes Hong Kong a more attractive international city. In 2022, the creative industries were powered by 29,420 establishments, and 136,470 practitioners had a combined nominal added value of around $59.4 billion, contributing to around 2.3% of Hong Kong's GDP. In promoting the development of the creative industries, the government adopts an industry-led approach by providing funding support to worthwhile projects initiated and organized by the trade via two dedicated government funding schemes. The Film Development Fund, or FDF for short, and for the films, FDF is for the film sector, and the Create Smart Initiative, CSI, for the 7 non-film sectors. And these 8 sectors include advertising, architecture, design, digital entertainment, film, music, printing and publishing, and television. Let's move on to the environmental services of the environmental services industry of Hong Kong. Hong Kong's environmental industry, consisting of mainly small and medium-sized enterprises, focuses on 6 business areas, including water conservation and pollution control, air and odor pollution control, energy conservation, waste treatment, disposal and recycling, noise control and mitigation, and environmental consulting services. The value added of Hong Kong's environmental industry grew by 2.2% year-on-year to around 10.2 billion Hong Kong dollars in 2021. Employment in the industry reached around 45,590 in that same year and accounted for 1.2% of Hong Kong's total employed. Leveraging Hong Kong's unique strength in the global technology revolution, green technology is one of the Hong Kong Science Park's 5 core technology clusters. The government provides funding support to environmental technology-related R&D projects under the Innovation and Technology Fund, or ITF for short, which has approved 240 projects since its establishment, with total funding exceeding 575 million Hong Kong dollars. So let's move on to the demand conditions. I included an image for you to look at while I read off some of these numbers. I don't really find it boring, but it's not very entertaining either. The economy of Hong Kong recorded an average growth rate of 1.2% in the decade to 2022. In 2022, domestic demand growth was negative 2.1%. Excuse me, I'm a little sick, by the way, that's why I sound like this. In the fourth quarter of 2023, Hong Kong's real GDP grew by 4.3% year on year. For 2023 as a whole, however, real GDP increased by 3.2%. From the preceding year, The government forecasts a growth of around 2.5 to 3.5% in real terms for 2024. Consumer prices rose by 2.1% in February over a year earlier, slightly higher than the corresponding increase in January, which was 1.7%. Considering inflation is likely to remain relatively contained in Hong Kong, the government forecasts Hong Kong's underlying consumer price inflation at 1.7% for 2024. The value of retail sales in nominal terms increased by 0.9% year-on-year in January of 2024. The value is provisionally estimated to have increased by 16.2% year-on-year for the whole 2023. The seasonally adjusted unemployment rate stayed low at 2.9%. for the period between December 2023 and February 2024, same as the level of November 2023. Taking January and February of 2024 together, the value of total exports of goods increased by 16.6% over the same period in 2023. And for 2023, the value of total exports of goods decreased by 7.8%. And there was a 15.6% drop in exports, which was worse than expected by the economists, and that was probably due to the rate hikes from major trade partners that have hampered the demand. All right, there's my 15 minutes. I'm gonna go quick. So to sum this up, sophisticated consumer demand was boosted by international tourism and highly paid local professionals. There is a sophisticated business demand due to a presence of a large number of multinational firms, and because of the small local market, there should be an increase in demand. So let's move on to, I titled this one the competition portion of this slide. Let's start with the strategy. So I wrote, the integration with Chinese economy makes Hong Kong vulnerable to the ups and downs of the Chinese economy. And what I mean by that is Hong Kong Securities and future regulators said it will review how it positions the city to attract more fundraising activities and lean on technology and environmental, social, and corporate governance products to remain a world-class financial center. By boosting the competitiveness and appeal of its capital markets, it will be one of the key priorities of the Securities and Future Commission, or SFC for short, of Hong Kong, according to the regulator's 3-year plan released on January 2023. The regulator said it will review its positioning to enhance its IPO fundraising capability and take forward the recommendation by its task force on enhancing stock market liquidity established in August 2023. Excuse me. It will deepen its connection with the capital markets in mainland China by expanding their mutual market access programs and introduce more mainland China-related derivative products in Hong Kong to increase its competitiveness in risk management. The Hong Kong regulator will also explore cooperation and connect programs with its overseas counterparts. Hong Kong will encourage development of regional corporate sustainability disclosure standards and stem greenwashing and nurture sustainable finance talents. The SFC will also advance regulation of virtual asset trading platforms by giving guidance to new virtual asset activities and take measure to safeguard investors' interest while embracing tokenization of traditional products as it seeks to foster a responsible and secure fintech ecosystem in the city. So moving down to structure. The banking system in Hong Kong is characterized by its 3-tier system, which is formed by 3 types of banking institutions: licensed banks, restricted licensed banks, and deposit-taking companies, which are authorized to take deposits from the public, the general public. The 3 tiers of companies which are authorized to take deposit from the 3 tiers of deposit-taking institutions operate under different restrictions. As of October 2023, there were 151 licensed banks, 15 restricted licensed banks, and 12 deposit-taking companies. There were also 34 representative offices of overseas banks. So moving on to rivalry. Hong Kong needs to be aware of the competition from the rival financial hub of Singapore, but Mullally expects Hong Kong to regain some of the ground lost despite the depressed deal-making and trading. Hong Kong faces significant regional competition, yet they argue that only Shanghai and Singapore pose the most direct threats. Currently, Singapore is still incomparable in terms of market liquidity, while Shanghai is mostly geared toward local investments. So to sum this slide up, an easy tax code and a low tax level make for a good structure. It was 16.5% in tax level versus 26% of the world average corporate tax. There are a few government subsidies for a specific industry or company,